What if I told you the biggest reason a woman stops respecting you is simple: she doesn't fear losing you? Think about that. If she's too sure you'll always be there, no matter what she does, her desire fades. Her attention drifts, and before long, you're just another man in the background. That's the brutal truth most men don't want to face. Here's the reality for a lot of guys. You meet a woman, you like her, and suddenly you're rearranging your schedule, texting her the second she messages, answering late-night calls even when you're exhausted. You think you're showing love, but what you're really showing is that you've got nothing else going on. And women pick up on it fast. Instead of chasing you, she gets comfortable. Instead of valuing your time, she takes it for granted. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine she feels your presence, but also the risk of your absence. She knows you care, but she also sees you have standards, boundaries, and a life that doesn't orbit around her. That's when her psychology flips. That's when the fear of losing you sparks attraction all over again. This isn't about manipulation or cruelty. It's about reverse psychology rooted in discipline and self-respect. It's about living by Stoic principles, calm, controlled, and impossible to shake. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to trigger that fear the right way. Let's get into it. Number 1. Distance that drives desire. Men, here's the truth you've probably felt but maybe never put into words. Women don't crave what's always in front of them. They crave what they fear losing. And nothing triggers that fear more than distance, the kind of distance that's handled with strength, not anger. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not talking about disappearing, ghosting, or trying to punish her with silence. That's childish, and it kills respect. I'm talking about deliberate space, pulling back in a way that reminds her your time and energy aren't unlimited. When done right, distance doesn't weaken attraction, it fuels it. Think about Daniel, a 5-year-old financial advisor from Ohio. He'd been dating Lisa, 42, a teacher, for almost a year. At first, things were exciting. But as time went on, Daniel started giving more and more. He was always available. Friday nights, he cancelled his plans with friends to see her. Early mornings, he answered every text instantly. Slowly, Lisa stopped chasing. She started to feel safe that no matter what, Daniel would always show up. And when that happened, the spark began to fade. Daniel eventually learned something powerful. Instead of constantly proving himself, he pulled back, not with anger, not with games, but with purpose. He started saying no to last-minute plans. He took weekends to hike alone, to visit his family, to invest in himself again. He let Lisa feel his presence, but also the risk of his absence. At first, she was confused. Then, she started to lean back in. She texted more often. She wanted to see him. She even asked, "What are you up to this weekend?" Something she hadn't bothered to do in months. That's distance done right. Not a wall, but a boundary. Not rejection, but restraint. It made Lisa realize Daniel's attention wasn't endless. It reminded her that his presence was valuable, and she could lose it if she didn't match his effort. The Stoics understood this long before dating apps existed. Epictetus said, "He who craves the least is nearest to the gods." What he meant was this: the man who doesn't cling, who doesn't beg, who doesn't demand constant reassurance, he is free. And freedom is magnetic. When you can step back calmly, without drama, you project strength. And women feel that strength deep in their psychology. This is why distance creates desire. It shakes her comfort zone. It introduces a little uncertainty. She starts asking herself questions. Why isn't he always available? What's he doing when I don't hear from him? Could I actually lose him? And those questions are what pull her back in. But here's the part most men miss. The distance only works if it's paired with self-respect. If you're pulling back but secretly desperate, if you're checking your phone every 5 minutes hoping she texts, she'll feel that. Women sense neediness even in silence. The power of distance lies in the life you're living while you step back. Daniel didn't just sit around waiting for Lisa. He actually expanded his world. He became more interesting, more alive, more grounded. And that's why his distance pulled her closer instead of pushing her away. So ask yourself, have you ever created space the right way without bitterness and noticed how it changed the dynamic? Share it below. I create space. And remember, what makes distance powerful isn't the silence itself, it's the effect it leaves behind. The shift it sparks inside her is only the beginning, and where that shift leads is something every man needs to understand. Number 2. Control your availability. Here's one of the biggest mistakes men make. They confuse being attentive with being available. They think answering every call, replying to every text within seconds, and always being ready to meet up will make a woman value them more. In reality, it does the opposite. Constant availability kills desire because it kills scarcity. And scarcity is what makes your attention valuable. Availability is like money. If it floods the market, the value drops. When your time is too easy to access, she stops seeing it as something rare, something earned. Instead, it becomes expected. And when it's expected, she stops feeling the urgency to appreciate it. Stoic philosophy understood this long before modern psychology. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are always wrapped around her, if your actions always orbit her world, then your entire presence gets colored by neediness. But if your mind stays centered, if your time remains guarded, then your presence feels stronger, richer, harder to ignore. Think about the difference between a man who answers within 2 minutes every time and a man who sometimes answers in 10 minutes, an hour, or even the next morning because he's actually living his life. The first man signals he's waiting. The second man signals he's moving. Women can sense the difference instantly. The man who guards his availability creates curiosity. She wonders what he's doing, who he's with, and why his attention isn't automatic. That mystery creates tension, and tension fuels attraction. But don't mistake this for playing games. Pretending to be busy when you're really just sitting around scrolling your phone isn't power, it's fake. And women pick up on fake energy just as quickly as they pick up on neediness. The real power comes when you actually are busy, when your life is full of purpose, when your time is spent on things that build you. That's when your availability naturally decreases, and that's when her desire naturally increases. This isn't about punishing her with silence. It's about respecting yourself enough to keep your schedule sacred. If you always drop everything for her, she'll learn to expect it. But when you protect your time, she learns to respect it. And respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. So what does controlling availability look like in practice? It looks like answering when you have time, not when she demands it. It looks like choosing plans that align with your goals, not canceling them because she calls last minute. It looks like being engaged when you're with her, but not being on call like an employee when you're not. The irony is this: when you guard your availability, she actually values your presence more when she gets it, because it's no longer guaranteed. It feels like a privilege, not an entitlement. And that subtle shift changes everything. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery of yourself includes mastery of your time. And if you can't control your own availability, you've already given away control of the relationship. So ask yourself, are you always too easy to reach, too quick to drop everything? Share your truth below. I guard my time. And here's what you need to remember. Controlling your availability isn't about being cold. It's about being respected. And once you see how quickly the dynamic shifts when you make this change, you'll realize why men who fail to do it always regret it later. Don't be one of them. Stay sharp, because the real edge comes next. Number 3. The pull of uncertainty. Here's something women will never tell you out loud. Certainty kills attraction. When she knows exactly where you are, what you're doing, and how you'll respond every single time, the excitement drains out of the relationship. Predictability is comfortable, but it's not magnetic. What keeps her engaged, what keeps her thinking about you when you're not around, is uncertainty, the healthy kind. Now, uncertainty doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean mood swings or treating her badly. It means she can't predict every move you make. It means your life is full enough that she's not the center of it, and that unpredictability pulls her in. Let me give you a real example. John, 52, is a construction manager in Texas. He'd been dating Karen, 49, for almost 2 years. John is a good man, steady job, loyal, dependable. But over time, Karen started to drift. Why? Because she always knew exactly what John would do. Friday night, dinner at the same restaurant. Saturday morning, golf with the same buddies. Sunday, watching the same football game. He answered her texts within minutes, called at the same time every night, and never missed a beat. On paper, John was perfect. In practice, Karen stopped feeling the spark. One weekend, John decided to change his rhythm, not to play games, but to live fuller. He joined a photography group, something he'd always been interested in but never tried. Instead of the same Friday night dinner, he was out with new people, exploring new places. Instead of being glued to his phone, he let Karen wait a little because he was busy framing shots and editing photos. At first, she was confused. Then she started asking more questions. Where were you last night? Who were you with? What were you doing? That's the pull of uncertainty. Suddenly, Karen didn't have John figured out, and that made her want him more. Women may complain about unpredictability, but they secretly crave it. Why? Because it stirs emotion. It keeps her guessing. It makes her feel like she has something to lose. When she can't predict your every move, she leans in more, she invests more, she pays attention. The Stoics understood the power of this, though they didn't call it attraction. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When you crave her constant reassurance, when you need her to always know where you are, you're the one in poverty, emotional poverty. But when you let uncertainty breathe, when you live fully without asking for permission, you shift the dynamic. She starts craving you. Notice, this isn't about manipulation. It's not about lying or playing mind games. It's about living a life so rich and dynamic that she can't always predict it. That unpredictability doesn't weaken respect, it strengthens it. It makes her see you as a man with layers, a man with depth, a man she doesn't fully own. And that's exactly what pulls her closer. So ask yourself, have you ever made your life so predictable that she's stopped chasing? Be honest. Drop it below. I stay unpredictable. And remember this, once she feels she has you completely figured out, the excitement starts to die. But when you introduce just the right amount of mystery, when your life shows her there's always more to discover, you create the kind of pull that keeps her leaning toward you. Don't miss this shift. It's where everything begins to change. Number 4. Show her you have options. One of the deepest fears in female psychology is competition. When she feels like she's the only one interested in you, she relaxes. When she feels like other women see value in you too, her mind shifts. Suddenly, she's alert. She sees you differently. And this is why showing you have options isn't about bragging. It's about living in a way that signals you're valuable, not just to her, but to the world. Now, let's get this straight. You don't need to line up women to prove anything. That's insecurity disguised as confidence. What you need is the posture of a man who is not dependent on one person for validation. A man who builds a life so full, so engaging, that naturally people want to be part of it, including women. Think about it. When you walk into a room and other people greet you warmly, when colleagues respect your time, when friends compete for your attention, she feels it. You don't even have to mention another woman's name. Your value is reinforced socially, and she picks up on it instantly. That's called social proof. It's one of the strongest psychological levers you can pull without saying a word. The Stoics knew this truth in another form. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The value of a man should be seen in what he gives, not in what he is able to receive." When you're the man who contributes value to the people around you, who leads, who inspires, you automatically become the man who has options, because people want to orbit those who radiate strength. The problem is, too many men collapse their world into one person. They cut off friends, stop pursuing passions, stop building networks, and then wonder why she no longer chases. But here's the brutal truth. The smaller your world, the smaller her respect. And the bigger your world, the more she fights to remain in it. Showing you have options is not about rubbing her face in jealousy. It's about quietly living a life that demonstrates you're wanted, respected, and chosen by others. When you do this, she feels two things at once: pride for being with you and fear of losing you. That combination is dynamite for attraction. Now here's a subtle detail most men miss. If you try too hard to flaunt your options, it backfires. Posting staged pictures, dropping other women's names, forcing her to notice it all screams insecurity. True options don't need to be broadcast. They're felt. They're obvious in the way you carry yourself, in the way others react to you, in the way you don't cling. Epictetus put it best: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. In other words, don't seek validation by proving your worth out loud. Build a life that's undeniable. Your options speak for themselves when your presence commands respect. So ask yourself, are you living like a man with options, or are you relying on one woman's approval to feel worthy? Be honest. Share it below. I have options. And here's what you need to understand. The moment she sees you as a man with choices, her respect deepens, her attention sharpens, and her desire reignites. Miss this, and you risk fading into the background. Get it right, and you become the kind of man she fights to keep close. And trust me, you don't want to miss what comes when this shift takes root. Number 5. Mystery makes her restless. Let's be real, what keeps a woman thinking about a man long after he's gone isn't his constant presence. It's the questions he leaves behind. It's the mystery that makes her mind wander when she's lying in bed at night, scrolling her phone, wondering what he's doing. When she doesn't have every detail, when she can't fully read you, she feels restless, and that restlessness pulls her deeper. Now, mystery doesn't mean lying or hiding who you are. It's not about creating fake stories or playing games. Mystery comes from having depth, from living a life so rich and layered that she realizes she can't decode you in one sitting. Every time she thinks she has you figured out, you reveal a new side, and that, more than anything, keeps her hooked. Take Michael, 48, a small business owner in Colorado. After his divorce, he started dating Laura, 46, who worked in real estate. In the beginning, Michael made the classic mistake oversharing. He told Laura every detail about his day, his struggles, his feelings, even things she hadn't asked about. At first, she liked the honesty, but soon, the spark faded. Why? Because there was nothing left to discover. She knew everything. When Michael finally pulled back and focused on himself, taking salsa lessons, joining a hiking group, reading philosophy, something changed. He didn't talk about every little thing. He let Laura see the results instead of narrating the process. When she asked what he'd been up to, he'd smile and say, "Had a good week, learned a few things," and leave it at that. Laura became curious again. She started pressing for details. She wanted to know more. She even said, "You've been different lately. What's going on with you?" That's when Michael realized mystery wasn't about deception. It was about holding space for curiosity. Women crave emotional stimulation. If you hand her everything at once, there's nothing left to chase. But if you let her peel back the layers slowly, she invests more, because discovery is addictive. And the beauty of mystery is this: it doesn't just make her curious, it makes her anxious about losing you. She doesn't want someone else to uncover the sides of you she hasn't seen yet. The Stoics valued restraint, and this applies here too. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When your thoughts are guarded, when you don't spill every detail, you maintain power, you control the rhythm of disclosure, and that controlled rhythm fuels attraction." Mystery also creates contrast. In a world where everyone overshares on social media, where people broadcast their lives for likes and validation, being selective with what you share makes you stand out. It makes you rare, and rarity is irresistible. So how do you build mystery without playing games? Live a life full of growth. Try new things. Cultivate new interests. Surround yourself with people and experiences that expand your world. And then, don't feel the need to broadcast every detail. Let her see glimpses, not the whole movie. Let her feel like she's uncovering something new each time she's with you. That's what keeps her restless in the best way. So ask yourself, have you been too much of an open book, or do you let her feel that spark of curiosity? Share it below. I keep mystery, and here's the key. When you leave space for curiosity, you create energy she can't shake off. It's the restless feeling that keeps her leaning in, trying to read you, trying to hold you tighter. Miss this, and you become predictable. Nail it, and you become unforgettable. And the shifts that come after this are the ones men can't afford to miss. Number 6. Fewer words, stronger impact. There's a truth about attraction that most men overlook. It's not how much you say, it's how much weight your words carry. Women don't remember endless explanations or over-detailed stories. They remember the short, sharp lines that stick, the words that leave silence hanging after them, the kind of words that make her stop, replay them in her head, and wonder exactly what you meant. Men who talk too much usually reveal too much. They explain themselves, defend themselves, and try to convince her of their worth. But here's the thing, when you over-explain, you leak power. You show that you're desperate for her approval. The more you try to clarify, the less she feels. Attraction doesn't grow in the noise of too many words. It grows in the space your words create. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "Let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary, and in few words." This wasn't about being cold or distant, it was about control. Words should be chosen like weapons, carefully, intentionally, and only when they matter. A man who knows how to stay silent, who speaks with restraint, creates an aura that no chatter can match. Think about how it feels when someone speaks less but every sentence lands. The silence between their words builds tension. It makes you lean in, it makes you pay attention. That's exactly what happens with women. When you don't feel the need to fill every pause, when you let the quiet carry just as much weight as your words, she feels your presence differently. She respects it more. But let's be clear, this isn't about giving one-word answers or stonewalling her. That only creates frustration. It's about measured words. Saying enough to spark thought, but not so much that you rob her of curiosity. When she has to guess, when she has to fill in the blanks, she invests emotionally. She starts replaying the conversation later, wondering what you were really saying. And that replay keeps you in her mind long after you've left the room. There's another layer to this. In the age of constant communication, silence is powerful. If you're the man who doesn't always respond instantly, whose texts are short but meaningful, you stand out. You separate yourself from the noise, and when you finally do speak, it feels intentional, not habitual. That difference is what makes her lean forward instead of pulling away. The mistake most men make is thinking they need to convince a woman with logic, detail, or endless proof. But attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. And emotions are triggered by tone, presence and timing far more than by the number of words spoken. If you can say less and mean more, you bypass her rational defenses and go straight to the core of what she feels. Seneca put it simply, "Speech is the mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he. When your words are scattered, your soul feels scattered. When your words are few but strong, your soul feels steady, and women feel that steadiness more than anything else. So ask yourself, are your words filling space, or are they creating impact? Drop your answer below. I speak powerfully, and here's the truth. A man who doesn't need to say much, but makes every word count, leaves an impression that lingers. If you miss this, you'll blend into the background like every other voice in the crowd. Nail it, and you'll command her attention without even trying. Stay locked in, you'll regret it if you don't. Number 7. Make her invest first. Here's one of the biggest truths about attraction. People value what they put effort into. When something costs them nothing, they take it for granted. When it requires effort, they hold on tighter. And relationships are no different. If you want a woman to respect you, desire you, and even fear losing you, you must learn to make her invest first. Too many men flip this dynamic. They overinvest from the start, planning everything, paying for everything, pouring out attention without pause. And what happens? She enjoys it for a while, but then the excitement fades. She didn't have to do anything to earn it. She didn't have to chase. And when there's no effort on her part, there's no fear of loss. Take Robert, 54, a sales executive in Chicago. He started seeing Melissa, 50, after meeting through mutual friends. Robert liked her a lot, so he went all in, texting every morning, booking expensive dinners, even rearranging his schedule just to fit her in. At first, Melissa was flattered, but after a few months, she started pulling away. Robert was confused. He thought effort was the key. Then one weekend, Robert decided to change the script. Instead of being the one to initiate every plan, he pulled back. He let Melissa reach out. He waited to see if she'd suggest something, if she'd invest her own energy. And sure enough, she did. She called and asked, "Are you free Saturday? I want to take you to this new restaurant." For the first time, she was putting in effort. And Robert noticed something. Melissa was more engaged, more present, more interested. Why? Because now she had skin in the game. She wasn't just being entertained, she was participating. This is the psychology of investment. The more someone gives, the more they value what they've given to. And when a woman invests her time, her energy, her attention, she naturally becomes more attached. She begins to think, "I've put effort into this man. I don't want to lose him." That's the fear of loss at work. The Stoics spoke about this principle in a different way. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." If you always want more from her, more time, more validation, more attention, you weaken your position. But when you are content, when you hold back until she invests, you show strength, and that strength forces her to step forward. So how do you make her invest first? Simple. Don't overgive at the start. Let her text first sometimes. Let her suggest plans. Let her put in energy. When she offers, accept it with gratitude, but without surprise. That balance flips the dynamic. Instead of you chasing her approval, she's chasing yours. But here's the catch. You have to actually mean it. If you're secretly desperate, if you're just waiting for her to move while staring at your phone, she'll feel it. Women sense energy. The key is to genuinely live your life, stay focused on your goals, and leave space for her to step in. When she does, the attraction grows naturally. So ask yourself, are you always the one giving, or do you let her invest first? Drop your answer below. I let her invest. And remember this, the man who makes a woman invest is the man she respects. He's the man she fears losing because she's worked for his presence. If you skip this step, you'll always be chasing. But if you master it, You'll create a bond she won't easily walk away from. Stay tuned, because the next layer is where everything starts to shift even more. Number 8. Boundaries she can't cross. If there's one thing that separates men who are respected from men who are walked all over, it's boundaries. Without them, you become a doormat. With them, you become a man she takes seriously. And when she knows there are lines she cannot cross, she feels both attraction and a healthy fear of losing you. Here's the reality. Women don't respect men who allow everything. If she can raise her voice at you, insult you, cancel on you repeatedly, disrespect your time, and you just smile and accept it, you're teaching her one lesson: that your presence has no price. And what costs nothing is valued as nothing. But when you set boundaries clearly and calmly, without anger or drama, something changes. She feels the weight of your standard. She realizes, if I don't respect this man, I'll lose him. That's the psychology of boundaries. They protect your dignity and they elevate your value in her eyes. Now, many men confuse boundaries with control. They think setting boundaries means trying to dictate every move she makes. But boundaries aren't about controlling her. They're about controlling yourself. They're about what you will and won't tolerate. You can't control how she acts. You can only control how you respond. And when you respond with strength, she adapts. The Stoics lived by this principle. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Your boundaries are an expression of self-mastery. You're not trying to bend her will, you're standing firm in your own. And that firmness is what makes her respect you, even when she pushes back. Think of it this way: if you let her cancel plans last minute, and you just reschedule without hesitation, you've taught her your time has no value. But if you calmly say, "I value my time, so let's plan another day when you're sure," you've drawn a line. You haven't yelled, you haven't punished, you've simply communicated your standard. And believe me, she feels that. Here's what happens psychologically. Boundaries create tension, and tension creates value. When she knows there are consequences for disrespect, she becomes more careful, more intentional, more invested. She doesn't want to lose a man who respects himself, because deep down she knows that kind of man is rare. The mistake men make is either avoiding boundaries altogether or setting them with anger. Both approaches fail. Avoiding them makes you weak. Setting them with anger makes you unstable. But when you calmly hold your ground, you strike the balance of strength and control. That's what creates lasting respect. Women will test boundaries, it's human nature. They want to know what kind of man you are. If you fold under pressure, they see weakness. If you stand firm with composure, they see strength. And it's that strength that flips the dynamic, making her chase, making her afraid of losing you. So ask yourself, are you living with boundaries, or are you letting lines be crossed every day? Share it below. I hold lines. And remember this, boundaries aren't walls to keep her out. They're guardrails that protect your value. And once she knows she can't cross them without consequences, you become the man she can't replace. Stay with me, because the next principle builds on this in a way most men never see coming, and it's one you'll regret missing. Number 9. Mistakes that kill fear. If you've ever wondered why she stops worrying about losing you, the answer is simple. You made mistakes that killed her fear. Fear of loss is one of the strongest emotions in human psychology. It keeps people alert, invested, and careful. But when certain mistakes are made, that fear disappears. And once it's gone, so is most of her attraction. Let's get clear. Fear in this context doesn't mean terror or abuse. It means a healthy awareness that she could lose a good man if she doesn't respect him. That awareness is what keeps her effort high. The moment she feels you'll always be there, no matter what, she relaxes.